everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you. I'm Sumanta and I lead the Intelligent Planning and Execution or IP capability in ITC Infotech. With me today, I have Devjit Banerjee, who is one of our senior leaders and a subject matter on CPG, subject matter expert on CPG. So both Devjit and I have extensive experience in the CPG and retail domains, and we have worked very closely with our parent organization, ITC, on various analytics and consulting assignments. As you might know, ITC is also one of India's leading CPG companies, and we have addressed multiple use cases in the CPG space with the parent organization. So before we get into the meat of the discussion today, what I would also like to mention is that there is an option for you to send in your questions through the messaging box. And once you send in your questions, if we have time at the end of this session, then we will address your questions. If we happen to run out of time, then we will get back to you over email, but we will definitely respond to you. So coming back to the topic of intelligent planning and execution, intelligent planning and execution is basically something that connects planning with execution, and it is applicable across all industry domains that need to actually connect planning with execution. But in today's discussion, Devjit and I will be primarily focusing on the application areas around CPG, around the CPG industry. We will be discussing some of the key challenges faced by CPG companies and how intelligent planning and execution helps in resolving these challenges. So to start off the conversation, I would request Devjit to tell us more about some of the key challenges that CPG companies face. Over to you, Devjit.
Sure. Thanks, Sumanta. So good morning, good evening, everyone. Whoever is here and attending this session today with us. Now, there are many challenges faced by modern day CPG companies. For example, in most organizations, planning and execution work as independent, discrete processes running at different speeds, and there is no interconnection between the two. Hence, a lot of the planning is on the basis of pure guesswork and, say, trial and error. So there is no way for the planners to understand how well the plan has worked, as many weeks may have already passed before they get any kind of feedback, and by when the information is already dated. So this lack of an integrated trade planning and retail execution framework results in huge leakages in terms of trade spend, in terms of low return of investment. And additionally, this delay enables the competition to gain a foothold which they otherwise would not have gained. So this is a real business challenge where intelligent planning and execution, or IP, comes in for rescue. So I just talked about CPG trade planning space, but we can very well expand the paradigm and include every kind of planning and execution process an organization may undertake. And in terms of the challenges faced across the organizational value chain, here is what should be on top of the mind of the business leaderships. Right, so moving forward to talk a little more about the challenges, here is what I would think the leadership today have to bother about. For example, number one, how do I enable a robust demand-driven planning to ensure no consumer demand remains unmet and no wastage at supply end and operations end? Number two, how do I run efficient demand forecasting process based on availability of right, accurate data across the organization? Number three, how do I ensure better sourcing planning synchronized with updated demand so that every customer can be fully served on time while the supply side profitability is properly maintained? Number four, how do I enable financial planning across the organization by integration of silos of planning that today we see in any of the standard organizations? Number five, maybe how do I have quick adaptation of revised and updated planning process in a volatile and unpredictable situation and get the supply chain also in sync? Number six, how do how to get easy visualization of accurate and current data, leading to faster decision making at various levels of the organization. The seventh critical challenge that companies are facing today are where to get one single view across organizational functions, meaning that the demand and supply side mismatches not to remain undiscovered and unaddressed, and therefore resolved on time. And finally, how to create a foundation for the right workforce planning, which is so critical in a volatile and disruptive times. Right. So, what has changed over the years of evolution of business process and supporting technology? If that is the question, and if you think in terms of the evolution process in the biological world, the final stage of evolutionary advancement has come through the nervous system, the evolution of the nervous system of any plant or animal or the various beings. The more evolved one is in the nervous system, the faster he can assess the environment, the faster he can learn and respond, and faster he can adapt, and hence survives better than the others. Now, please note that this is also applicable to the evolution of the business entities today. One of the biggest sources of competitive advantage for the firm in today's world is also how fast the organization can sense, learn, respond, adapt, and grow. The better they are in doing that, higher are the chances that they will fare better in the competitive environment of modern day business. And the process and technology for integrated planning and execution, or IPE, is what will bring that much needed competitive advantage into the DNA of the organization. It is therefore said that the arena of integrated planning and execution is going to be the new frontier where the battle of survival is being fought by the modern day organizations. Now, over to Sumanta to explain what IP is all about.
Thank you, Devjit. So, if I were to define IPE, in a nutshell, this is what I would say. So, number one, it is a seamless planning and execution management system. It's a management process which covers different areas across business strategic planning, trade commercial planning, operations planning, and financial planning. Basically, any situation where there is planning and execution happening concurrently. So, IP is something that connects the two of them together. Uh, so IP-enabled planning processes basically integrate data, actions, analytics across the entire global product portfolio, across different customer locations and different operational units of the organization. And intelligent planning and execution also helps in breaking down the silos within an organization by connecting all the different parts together. The solution integrates with whatever existing technology ecosystem is there within the organization at different points of time or across different functional areas. For example, the ERP systems, the CRM systems, the legacy applications, the different cloud-based platforms of intelligence which are already being used. So all of these, they don't need to be changed. The platform of intelligent planning and execution can sit on top of all of these. So, and how is that? So, how does this actually happen? So, to elaborate on that, IP is actually a multi-cloud platform of intelligence, which connects like I said before, it connects the erstwhile discrete functions of planning and execution in a very seamless and holistic way. It is relevant to any business process that involves planning and execution on two discrete systems. So once again, taking the example of CPG companies and referring to the specific planning process for customers and trade, IP enables the trade planners within these organizations to dynamically translate strategic plans to operational plans. And it also enables the sales representatives, who are the people who actually go down to the market, to the outlets to execute. It enables them to execute those plans in near real time. So what it also does is it empowers the trade planners to get the feedback on that execution from the sales representative's journey, again in almost near real time. So basically then what the planner is getting is a very hyper localized, outlet level, near real time insight on assortment, media mix, and promotions, which they would not normally get. It would typically take a long time for that information to come back from the field if the two processes are not interconnected. So again, just to give some examples of application areas of intelligent planning and execution in the CPG context. So one of them could be your store assortment planning, which is not just about putting the right product in the right store, but also looking at different other parameters like availability, your share of shelf, your visibility. So all of these in terms of different execution parameters can be measured, can be planned, and can be executed through intelligent planning and execution. Then when it comes to trade coverage planning, which is nothing but deciding on what is the most optimum route, what is the most optimum frequency of hitting the market, what should be your capacity planning for hitting the market, what resources should you use for hitting the market. So all of these different aspects of trade coverage planning that can be done very easily within intelligent planning and execution. Because one of the other great things about intelligent planning and execution is that it enables you to simulate different outcomes. So there are a lot of what if scenarios that are built into the entire platform. You can create, you can play around with all the different metrics and variables, create your own different simulations, and come up with the most optimized, coverage plan that you would want the sales rep to execute in the market. So on top of that, what you can also do is you can look at your media capability planning, which is nothing but looking at the best combination of in-store merchandising and different promotional and advertising elements within stores to achieve certain specific marketing campaign objectives. So these are some of the different application areas for which intelligent planning and execution is a very I would say focused point solution that can bring a lot of value to our clients. So for the sake of time, we have restricted ourselves to only a few specific modules which are primarily applicable to the trade facing and customer facing areas within CPG companies. But like Devjit also mentioned, IP again is applicable across many other planning domains. For example, operations, supply chain, and financial and workforce planning as well. So Devjit will now tell you more about the benefits and who would be some of the typical users of an intelligent planning and execution platform. Over to you again, Devjit.
Right, thanks, Sumanta. Sure. So let's start with the big picture of how the benefits will accrue to the organizations who are implementing IPE. Number one, the business resources are scarce and ever diminishing. IP enables organizations to allocate the critical resources, the people, equipment, inventory, materials, time, and money to most effectively satisfy their customers in a profitable way. So that is one of the key sources of the benefits. Number two, IP's sustainable and measurable improvement in top line and bottom line both. And number three, by implementing IPE, organizations are able to predict and respond to changing external and internal business situations faster, which is a key competitive advantage to grow in today's fast changing, complex, and ambiguous environment. Now, when you have this competitive advantage at your fold, then it's much easier for you to actually do business in a better way. And this benefit would also percolate to other areas of your actions and activities. The solution accelerates the value realization with various ways. For example, number one, the fully connected planning and execution framework is one of the way to accelerate the business process. Number two, the near real-term execution of insights to augment the decision making. That also accelerates the value realization. And number three, the multi-cloud integration with the strategic partnership. That also goes, no doubt, to a great extent to create the value realization for the organizations. And from our experience, some of the indicative business benefits one can expect are as we have seen. For example, number one, you can expect 5% cost saving or even more than that, depending on your business situation, from managing the reverse logistics cost and from cost of obsolescence. Number two, you can expect 20% improvement coming out of the forecast accuracy that the IP brings to the business. Number three, one can expect 20% to 25% of improvement by the way of new products reaching their desired distribution level by bringing more awareness among the consumers and the trial meeting the goals. Now, every organization, when they launch a new product, they would have a specific target of sales and reaching the consumer. IP is one of the tools that would immensely benefit those organizations to ensure that those goals are achieved. Number four, one can expect around say 5 to 7% of reduction in out of stock situation, which is one of the big challenging area for any CPG industry company. Number five, I would say that manifold improvement in product awareness and trial targets by reaching more touch points and reaching more retailer destination, another source of the benefit out of IPE. Now, coming to the question of who will be benefited through IPE, some of the typical end users who would benefit from the system would be, according to me, like this. Uh, First of all, it's the head of trade marketing and channel sales officer who wants to harmonize the trade planning and execution capabilities, who wants to generate higher ROI from trade spend and marketing investments, who wants to improve the visibility of trade resource allocation. So if these three things are on top of their mind, and definitely the head of trade marketing and channel sales officer, chief marketing officer and his team or her team would be immensely benefited. The second persona who will be benefited that comes to our mind is the head of sales operations who wants to build single view of the customer across all touch points, across all SKUs, across all brands, across all geographies, who wants to predictively analyze for cross-sell and upsell and increase his reach. And the head of sales who wants to deliver superior, seamless, and personalized experience for his target customer. So all these three things, which are in the top of the mind of the head of sales and of operations, would be easily achieved by this IP solution. And finally, let's talk about the CFO, who would also get immensely benefited because this trade spend would be optimized definitely through IPE. And more than that, the overall process would be integrated with his or her the financial management process. The financial and commercial management planning would also be immensely benefited by this IP. So that's in a nutshell about the specific persona who would be benefited. So what do you, Samantha?
Thanks, Devjit. So now coming to the underlying technology. So what actually enables IP? So as I mentioned earlier, intelligent planning and execution is a multi-cloud platform of intelligence. So what do we mean by that? So it basically means that we are using two different cloud-based technologies, one on the planning side and the other on the integration side, on the execution side. And both these technologies are connected together by an integration layer. So in the solution that we have built, the planning tool is Anaplan, the execution tool is Salesforce CPG Cloud, and the integration is being done through MuleSoft. However, having said that, it would be important to remember that in most organizations there would already be something in place, either on the planning side or on the execution side, or something or the other. So now the point is that if there is something existing, we are not trying to change anything over there. We can build the integration layer if there are two existing systems and connect the two. If one of the systems is there, for example, only the planning part is there, then we can build the execution and integration layer on top of that. If just the execution layer is there, we can build the planning and integration part on top of that. So what I'm trying to say is that our solution is customizable, it is completely configurable, and it can be and it is completely optimized for brownfield implementations. So whatever need you might have, we can build something that can address that need. So before we get into a further discussion on exactly how the solution works, let me also talk about the entire process flow. Taking a simple example of say a product assortment in certain specific stores that a trade planner would want to execute. So when we talk about the process flow, it is typically something like this. The master data related to outlets, stocks, etc. Typically sits in the execution tool, which in this case is Salesforce. And the execution on the ground also happens through the Salesforce mobile interface. This master data is pulled into the planning tool, which in this particular case is Anaplan. Now the planner decides what plan he wants to execute. For example, if I am the planner and I have, say, a new product SKU which I want to introduce in the market, then I can decide on the basis of certain segmentation criteria, which Anaplan allows me to choose which outlets I want to introduce the new SKU in. So now my execution plan. Now, what might happen is that the outlets I have chosen, they might already be carrying some of my other SKUs. And because shelf space in an outlet is typically limited, or there might be some other constraints, including the kind of contract I have with the retailer. So I will need to decide which SKU of mine should be replaced by the new SKU that I want to introduce. So all of this can be done in Anaplan. As the planner, I can even see simulations of my distribution numbers for the new SKU after I have put them in the market, after I've executed it for each plan. So and Anaplan also allows me to tweak the plan accordingly till I get my desired number, even though it's a theoretical number till the time it is actually executed in the market. So now once the plan is ready, the outlet to SKU mapping is pushed back to the Salesforce system. So what the Salesforce system now does is that it shows to the sales representative who is actually executing on the ground which outlet, which SKU is to be. So in some cases, he might actually need to delist or take out one of the existing SKUs and replace that with the new SKU. And all this information is actually available on the handheld device of the sales representative. So now, suppose the sales representative has introduced the new SKU in the desired stores which were there as part of the plan. And so the plan has now been executed in the market. What happens next is that this updated stock information is immediately sent back from Salesforce to Anaplan, and the planner gets to see this information. So this is how we are actually closing the entire loop between planning and execution. So once he has this feedback, then he can again run the simulation and see whether the plan objectives that were there at the beginning of the plan cycle, whether those have been achieved or not. And typically this information takes actually minutes to come to him. Whereas in earlier systems, it would take maybe days or weeks to actually come back to the planner, by which time, it would be very difficult for the planner to take any kind of measure or course correction because a lot of time would have passed. So this is one of the key advantages of having intelligent planning and execution integrated together as one intelligent platform. So once again, to reiterate the important technical aspects that enable this system. So number one, it is platform neutral. So while we have mentioned Anaplan and Salesforce, and we are also partners with Anaplan and Salesforce, it can also be deployed in any kind of greenfield or brownfield implementation. So if there is nothing there, we can actually create a greenfield implementation. If something is already existing, we can do a brownfield implementation. So some of the other key points to remember from an integration perspective are that the integration is API based. There is minimal application modification. Most of the components and interfaces are reusable. And there is a seamless connectivity between the different systems, which is achieved post-integration. So the other important point is that this entire architecture is very flexible and scalable and extensible. So if more users need to use the system, you can just provision additional workspaces and licenses without changing any of the underlying nuts and bolts of the solution. So the security is also built in. So that's best of breed security, and it's completely built in terms of user access, in terms of admin rights, and all of that. So the other thing that we'd like to mention here is that this smart solution for CPG trade, which is intelligent planning and execution, it has also been validated by industry experts. So Our solution has actually found a mention in Forrester's report, which is called Run Your Company on Autopilot: Rise of the Autonomous Enterprise. So, once again, I would like Devjit to talk about how ITC Infotech can help in implementing intelligent planning and execution. Over to you, Devjit.
Sure. So ITC Infotech is one of the leaders in this space, and we are helping the global organizations to transform their planning and execution journey in various ways. To start with, we are a global partner for Anaplan and for Salesforce. The core application, as Sumanta just explained, is built on top of Anaplan with the specific IPs that we have got from ITC, and that is connected to CPG and some other industries as well. Number two, we have a full-blown Anaplan IP trade and commercial planning customizable template that accelerates the design of any planning and execution solution. So our approach provides a fine balance between consistency and flexibility. And given that we have those templates readily available from design to implementation, the overall timeline is hugely crashed because of that. Number three, we bring CPT domain knowledge and expertise, IP and TPM process expertise, and the solution learnings from many of our past implementation experience. We bring those in delivering and supporting the large-scale planning and TPM transformation program globally. And once we have those three things connected together, the domain knowledge, the expertise in TPM and IP specifically, and experience from the previous implementation methods and cases, then we have a formidable partner in getting this IP solution up and running. Fourthly, we have a flexible pricing model. We consider something called the outcome-based pricing, in which we tag the overall charge of the implementation with the kind of benefit that would accrue from the implementation. And fifth, we have already set up and we are setting up for various clients of ours the IP and trade planning COEs, the Center of Excellences, which should continually evolve in terms of adding new functionalities, help with adoption, and deliver ongoing business value to the customer. So creating the CEOs and driving the implementation through the CEOs is one of the core competencies that not many of the companies would have into this world to bring the IP value on table uh, to our clients. So these are the key ways I believe through which we can help our other organizations and our prospects. So for more information, we can discuss separately on this. Uh, so Sumanta, what is your take on this?
Yes, Devjit, I think we are available if anybody has any questions on the solution that we have created, which is called Intelligent Planning and Execution. We would be happy to kind of get back to you and get in touch with you. So please do send in your queries. So as I can see, we haven't received any questions in this particular session. But if anything occurs to you, please feel free to reach out. Like I said, we are always there to answer your queries. So thank you once again, everybody, for attending this session on intelligent planning and execution. Thanks a lot for your time. Thank you.
Right. Thank you and bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.